Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. I can't say welcome back because this is actually my first video. Welcome. Right here, we talk about cars. We exchange our opinions. We talk shit here and there. I don't care. We're just having fun. We like cars. Let's get it. Right. So I wanted to talk today about the M5 G90, a very controversial car in the past, let's say, 2 years or so. Right, because a lot of pressure was put on this car. Why? The main reason, in my opinion, was because of the F90. The F90 was such a great car that it put a lot of pressure for the G90 to be better. And unfortunately, in my opinion, I just simply don't think the G90 is that much better. At least not like $50,000 more expensive better than the F90. But I'm gonna talk about what am I saying? I'm gonna talk about that later. First, I want to go over the design, the exterior design, right? This is actually one of the more controversial aspects of this M5. And to be honest, the reason is the fact that it's just so different than the F10 and the F90. And this is exactly what we saw with the E60. And in my opinion, this car is a perfect reincarnation of the E60, actually. Because if you look at the E34 and the E39, they look kind of similar. They were pretty much similar in terms of everything, the engine and whatnot. And then you have the E60. The E60 completely blew everything out of the water. Its design was different, its engine was different. And we have the same thing with the G90 here. The design is different. It's much different than the F10 and the F90. The F10 and F90 looked so similar. You could practically put an M5, F90 kit on an F10 and it would practically look like an F90. Nobody would notice. There's like Chinese kits everywhere, but anyways, that's beside the point. So this design, in my opinion, the design is very weird in a sense that like BMW simply didn't know what they were doing, especially with the rear. The rear is where I have a problem with this car, right? Because you look at the rear, right? The taillights are meh. These long taillights, I don't think they suit an M5. Like I prefer the smaller, a little bit more, globular. That's a nice word to say, globular. And it's the fact that the rear bumper just has this huge diffuser that just cuts off in the middle, right? And then you have these huge like air duct looking things that have like these little lights in them. It's just too rah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like right in your face. It's such a brute from the behind. And the thing is, this isn't balanced out by the front. The front, in my opinion, it looks good. I like how the front looks. But it's also raw. It's also so much in your face. It looks like a dinosaur. It's such a brute. There's the best way I can describe it. The designer actually himself of BMW, of the head designer for the G90, his name is Domagoj Dukic. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the word. He said himself that their goal was to make the M5 G90 basically look like a big B word.
Thank you for the key character. So in the design was creating a glamorous as the BMW M5.
BITCH. And in my opinion, whatever this guy had in mind, he got the perfect representation of what we had in mind. Because this car really does look like a big B word. It just looks brutal. It's such a big brute. It's fat. It doesn't have any muscle. I mean, it's muscular, don't get me wrong, but it's also fat. The side profile is a little bit globular. This car is just a mixture. And I like it. A lot of people hate it. The majority of people hate it, but I like it. I think it looks like the E60, right? I think there could be better design decisions here and there, but still, they didn't do it that well. The execution was just a bit off, especially with the rear bumper. The next point I want to talk about actually is the performance and the powertrain of the M5 G90. Which is the most controversial aspect of this M5 G90 and part of why everybody was talking about it. I mean, the moment they came out with the weight numbers, everybody was going crazy. Oh my god, 2,500 kilograms? What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I totally get it. 2,500 kilograms on a supposedly sports sedan is absolutely crazy. Here's what's even crazier. You know how I said supposedly sports sedan? BMW themselves, they labeled the M5's sports sedan in quotes. I am not even kidding you. You can go search it up online. BMW literally called the M5 a quote-unquote sports sedan. Like, they're not even fully committed to making this a sports sedan. You know what I mean? And this is, I feel like, part of where BMW went horribly wrong. They didn't know what they wanted this M5 to be. Like it's just so confusing. It's very confusing. It's more more of an i5 with an engine than an M5 with an electric battery. Simply put, it's more of a 5 Series, right, that can go fast than an M5, than an M5 that just so happens to be sharing the same platform as a 5 Series. It's not true to the M5 form. And I like to go back to the E39 example. The E39, in my opinion, is the most true to form M5 we have ever had, period. The naturally aspirated V8, the looks of it, the comfort, everything was just so perfectly done with that BMW. And this was also part of the reason why the E60 failed, right? And fast forward a decade later, we have the same exact thing, right? The F90, in my opinion, which I do believe is one of the main reasons for the G90, just being this negatively accepted, right? It's because the F90 was actually just such a good car. I mean, what the F90 did, what BMW did with the F90, no other German manufacturer did. I'm sorry, Mercedes fanboys, I'm sorry. All the Volkswagen fanboys, Audi fanboys, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, guys. We're going to talk about you guys later. But as a first video, I just want to talk about, my favorite brand, which is BMW. Don't come at me for it. Everybody has his own. Anyways, right, what BMW did with the F90, nobody else did. Nobody else did. Right? Like when you look at the F90, right, V8, twin turbo, 620 horsepower, 625 horsepower, right? Easily tunable. Looks absolutely great. One of, in my opinion, the best BMW design ever. Pre-facelift and facelift, both of them. They look great, right? Just also pretty reliable compared to the other M5s, right? Like, sure, it's no B58, it's no M30, M340i reliability, sure, but it's still reliable for a V8 twin turbo, especially after that horrible, thing with the F10s. The F90 was such a good car, right? And you're gonna notice a pattern here. M5s have always had a problem, right? Despite them being a car that was supposed to be an all-rounder, they always had a problem in one aspect, right? With the E60, it was the design, right? And the powertrain, but that's not that bad, You look at the F10, it was the powertrain, the reliability issues. It was also getting heavier. You look at the F90, it was also pretty heavy. And this is a problem with the F90. It was very heavy, 1,830 kilograms, maybe 1,900, sorry. So that's pretty heavy for an M5, right? And you look at the M5 G90, it has all of those problems. Controversial design, weight issues, powertrain issues, just being regulated too much. It's just unfortunately a bad execution by BMW. They didn't know what to do with this car. They weren't sure whether they wanted to go full 5 Series consumer mode or M5 enthusiast mode. And unfortunately for us, the enthusiasts, we didn't get exactly what we wanted. Because now if you go to the BMW page, you look at the posts on any new 5 Series, right? I'm not sure what the model for the non-M5s are. I think it is still G90, but like the non-M5 models, well, people are loving it. Like, oh, I can't wait to own this car, blah, 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 blah. Because, I mean, I get it. It's a comfortable car, nice and reliable. 5 Series, engines are quite reliable if you maintain them properly. Looks good. Some of them have hybrid engines, excellent fuel economy, right? But for the enthusiasts, they just didn't care that much. And unfortunately, this is just a sign of BMW greed. They really don't care about the people who buy 1,000 units or 2,000 units or 5,000 units. They care about the people who are buying more than that. So it's sad to see. And I think, in my opinion, the final nail in the coffin, I mean, if you do consider it to be a coffin, okay, before I get into, the pricing and such, the M5 G90 is still an amazing car. I would buy it over, any C classes that have come out. I would buy it over any E classes. That's just me though, that's my opinion. I love BMWs, right? I just love the formula of the M5, right? But for the price of $140,000, I'm sorry, but I like this is just ridiculous. Like I mean, come on, like $120,000 to $140,000 is just insane, especially when there's a older generation, right, that costs only $90,000 for pristine condition, right? Doesn't have any of the hybrid shenanigans, handles extremely well. I mean, not extremely well. I mean, still heavy, but at least better than the G90, And you get all of that for like $50,000 less. Like, that's the thing. Like, upgrading from an F10 to F90, like, you know, you're trading in your F10, made sense. You know, just doing it just made sense, right? But here, from the F90 to the G90, it just doesn't make sense. The F90 is too good. Why would I let go of such a good car, right? Just to go to a slightly faster car with slightly better tech, but, you know, worse handling and worse suspension, and just like things that I care about. Like when you're buying an M5, you care about the weight. You're gonna care about the weight. You're gonna care about the way it looks. You know, that's enthusiast type stuff. You know, so the G90, especially when it looks, in my opinion, it still looks good, but worse than the F90, right? It weighs heavier. It doesn't handle as well as the F90. I see no reason for somebody to just go like, oh, I like the G90. It's definitely an improvement over the F90, when it's not, in my opinion. It's simply not. So I guess the best way the G90 could be summarized as is just a bad generation. like literally, that's all it is. It's a bad generation. You know, it's BMW just didn't execute it properly. I feel like if they just put a little bit more work, you know, a little bit more work on the design, you know, got some secondary testers, secondary reviewers, this could have gone better, right? But this generation simply is like not gonna be the F90. I'm just sorry. The last generation was just crazy good. You know, a lot of people like to say it's overrated, you know, and I agree, it is overrated, but it is overrated for a reason. That car is crazy. That car is one of the best. So thank you guys for watching. This was my 2 cents on the M5 G90. Thank you all. See you guys later. Bye-bye.